Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We are so excited.
Oh man, we are really, really excited today to have Karl Becker, president of Improving Sales Performance, a sales guru, a potter we just found out,
It's like
a skier,
a hiker,
an avid, he likes to parent his children.
He's a dad.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because he's got kids.
He's got to do that.
Being a dad is like, you want to be a parent to your kids. That's
Yes.
good. Welcome.
Welcome, Karl.
Yay.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Love to be here.
So, well, we're thrilled. And we're just going to kick it right off, Karl. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Improving Sales Performance, your company, and how you got there? We know there are some interesting background elements that we want to hit on.
Well,
as you,
hold
you
on.
go through.
I'm sure he was born and he said, I want to start a company called
Improving Sales Performance. That's what I'm doing.
I'm certain.
Yep.
So take it away, Karl.
I did. That's true. Gosh, first off, I am one of those human beings that just probably learns the hard way all the time. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. That means when I was a little kid, I didn't follow rules and I just got in adventures, and one day it turned into a business. So I am one of these, I think you could almost say I was born into it, but that sounds like I'm a dog, like a German Shepherd, and I was bred to be a German Shepherd. That's not it. I've always been an independent guy. Even in school, they'd be like, hey, is Karl Edmund Becker III there? And you're like, quit calling me that. I know that's my name, but this is awkward. Let's just, I was the kid that spoke back, even when I was a little kid at Catholic school. So what does that mean? I'm someone that just loves ideas and to get out in the world and share them. And over the years, I've gotten in way too many adventures. I've had really successful companies. I've had bankruptcies. I've been all around the spectrum of running a business. And one day, about 8-10 years ago, I started to kind of go, well, wait, how can I take what I've learned and all this kind of like good, the bad, and the ugly and bring it to other people, help them out. And so I've always been a business development, marketing, sales person, had a lot of companies that kind of touch those things. And it was kind of like luck. People just started to call me and they're like, hey, could you come in and talk to my team? Hey, we don't have a VP of sales. He just left. Could you come in and help out for a little bit? And I was like, wait a minute, I think I'm onto something. And so what does Improving Sales Performance do? Kind of what it says, but we do it in more of a foundational way. Like there are companies out there that are like, oh, you want to go from 10 to 20 million? Buckle up, let's go. I'm not that guy. I don't believe in that. I don't think it's real. I think real is you put in the work, you listen, you build a great team. And so what do? We work with usually like owner-led companies or family companies where a lot of the people that are like going to be in the sales leadership role, they've never really worked somewhere else. And so they've kind of have this business, it's working, but it's never really been intentionally built, the sales organization. We come in and we either build it from scratch or we take what we have and modify, but ultimately we are there to put in foundations, build a team that's happy, highly functional and successful. And when you do that, you can scale, you can grow. And that's what we do. So we come into B2B companies, usually 5 to 50 million, build foundations, and at the same time come in as a fractional sales leader and help build culture and success and up-level everybody. That's what we do.
That's awesome. And I do have one question about your background. You went to Colorado College, right?
I did go to Colorado College. Yeah, that's true.
What did you study at Colorado College?
Gosh, insert smartass answer here. But for real, I was an economics major, but I was one of these guys that just, I also got my EMT. I thought I was going to be an emergency room doctor because I like a lot of things happening. I like to think on my feet. And then if you know about Colorado College, you take one class at a time. So I took a chemistry class in 3.5 weeks and got, you know what? I'm not a scientist. I'm a biz guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creator. And so I credit Colorado College from kicking my ass when it came to science and math classes that I had to do in 3.5 weeks. But I was an econ major there.
Yeah, right.
Good. I figured there was a line between what you do now and what you did back then. You could see it. So go ahead.
All right. So
it's a fuzzy, small, thin, hashed line at this point. But yeah.
Well, something you said kind of struck me. I posted a couple of days ago on LinkedIn about the concept that, with the Olympics going on, it's super easy for people just to assume that you get all the right equipment and you can just be an Olympian. And we know that's not true. I mean, I think I took swimmers for an example. You know, you get the cool suit and the cap and the nose clamps, and you jump in the pool and you can beat anybody, like Katie Ledecky, who's amazing, by the way. And the truth is, it doesn't work that way. And so I love hearing you talk about this very kind of intentional and strategic approach to building a high performing sales team, because you know, people are not born into selling, and they're not born into a lot of the things that are required to build those relationships to sell well. And so when you think about kind of sales as a whole, the work that you do, what do you think is the skill that is really missing? We call them power skills. Some say soft skills, some say essential skills. What skill do you think is missing, like maybe floats to the top in sales teams today in this business climate?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. And I think I'm going to say some are missing and some are there, but they just need to be realigned. So I think the first one is, if you think about it from a sales leader or a business leader, I think what we need to have is more confidence in what we sell. But before that, we really need product market fit. So we've got to kind of frame our conversation of, do you have a product people buy that aren't just your friends? You know, Mother's Day is at the end of every month and you call and your mom buys something. No, that's not Mother's Day, you know. So the idea is, do you have product market fit? And if you do, then you can grow and you can build foundation. So I think sometimes what's lacking is we think we are further down the field than we are because we've had some success. And I'm all about learning as you go. But if you're really going to double down, make sure you have product market fit and you've got some real customers, and you have at least some sort of general process. I talk to somebody, they mention this problem. I tell them this is how I solve it. They ask for more information. I help them out. Next thing we know, this is how we start. Then I grow the account and we're creating value. When you have that and it's clear, then you can grow. So that's kind of the first one. The second one is confidence. I think a lot of times, especially if we're entrepreneur-run companies, or we have a high probability of, like, most of our income comes from commission, we feel like we have to close everything. And you know, I can even remember I was traveling out east, visiting my uncle many, many years ago. And I was just on a biz dev trip, but I sat down to dinner and he was like this classic old school sales guy. He's like, did you close the deal? And I was like, Jay, there was no deal to close. He's like, you flew all the way out here and there's no deal to close? You know, and it was like, dude, like, I'm building relationships. I'm building value. Like, I'm getting to kind of understand if I even want to work with these people. And when I said that, his brain like blew up. Like, you mean there's people you're not going to sell to? So I think if we're really talking about, you know, skills, first it's like, know where you are, you know where you are in like the trajectory or life cycle of your business. And that's going to show up in sales pretty quickly, because sales is like how you monetize whether or not you're doing the thing that creates the value. And then the second one is, do you have the confidence to really go, this is my ideal customer. I create a ton of value for them. I'm going to work with them. And oh, by the way, over here, this is not a great fit. It could be a great fit for my competitor, but for me and my team and my product, it's not. And understanding that you need to have enough confidence to make that decision and realize it's going to be okay. And I'm here to tell you, if you have product market fit, you have a good product, and you can identify really who's the perfect fit, go get more of them. The world's huge. You don't need to boil the ocean. I got a ton of other things, but I guess I would throw it back to you. Those are kind of the two that show up for me if we're talking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you thank you. You spawn this question, which is, okay, somebody doesn't have confidence. What are you doing as the, you know, from improving sales performance perspective to help guide and kind of lift them up, float the boat, as you might say?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Wow. I would tell you, I have a book called Iceberg Selling, came out about a year ago. And I can tell you what page it's on because I had this conversation yesterday. I think on page 56, I tell this story about a guy named Tim. And Tim is in the tech space and he's a founder of a company. And I was speaking at a conference and he had kind of told me different things along the day. So I kind of understood where he was in his world. But before I wrapped up and started to head back to Denver, he said, hey, do you do personal coaching? I said, look, man, we can talk right now. But yes, but I got 3 or 4 hours before my flight. Let's sit down. He starts to tell me this story that he can't close. And he's an entrepreneur. He came up with the product. And what he had really was head trash. And to boil it down, it's a great story if you read it, but to boil it down, his dad was kind of this hard ass, owned this auto supply store. And think Tommy Boy. Salespeople would come in and sell him, and he'd wrestle with them and that type of thing. And he would tell his son, who was the guy I'm talking with, these damn sales guys. And so this kid, who's now an adult, he was in his 40s, has all this head trash that if I'm a salesperson equals bad. I'm a salesperson. My dad thinks those guys are bozos. And it's like, look, salespeople to me are some of the best people in the world. We are good at communicating. We make the world go round. We generate sales. That sales pays for mortgages, college tuitions, things like that, right? So I'm all in. So I just kind of talked to him. I was like, what's going on? And his problem was he'd get really excited in a presentation and get into solution. That's not the problem. This is where it took its side turn. So he's bonding, he's talking, they're co-creating. The tech guy he's talking to, he's like, oh, your tool does that too. And they're like going back and forth. And then at the end, he felt like he had to close them. So then he would move from this collaborative, getting to know each other, solution, rapport-based building kind of technique to, well, is this something you might want to do? Or, kind of like, what do I need to do to get you in the car today? And it would blow it in his head first. And then for the other person, they would feel the weird energy, which would then equal no confidence. Like, what just happened? I'm having this great conversation. It's like you had this great date, and then at the end, it got all weird. It's like that.
No, I'm not.
No, I don't want
that's another podcast. So anyway, what I told him, I said, stay integral to who you are. Stay in this conversation and offer something of value. Hey, would you be willing to demo this? Or, hey, I'll give you a 30-day trial if you're willing to give me some feedback. But like, stay in cooperation. Get out of your head. So I guess I would tell you, we all have head trash. Don't talk to strangers. Or, this one time I had to cold call for a summer and it was horrible, whatever it is, right? And I would just say, throw it away. Put it in a trash can, throw that trash can away. If you have to write it down on a piece of paper and throw it away, do that. I don't care. But the point is, like, if you're in sales and you're running a business, you have value. You have a solution. Be a guide. If you're worried about being a salesperson, take your business card, scratch out that and put guide or helper, something where it changes your mindset of being in solution with somebody. That's what I would do if someone's lacking confidence. Like, find that place of what's your genius of how do you connect with someone and stay there. And for this guy, it was collaborating, co-creating, solving problems.
That's
no,
great.
I love that so much.
Thank you.
It makes me think, first of all, thanks for the Tommy Boy reference, because all I can think of is him, hitching up his pants.
Yeah.
Which exactly. So I love what you said about, kind of stay. I think of it as like staying in discovery, right? You're staying open and you're staying curious. And I think so many people in the sales world feel like they have to be this other person, whether that's, for this guy that you're talking, Tim, his dad, the way his dad did it is the way he should do it. Or, we've got to be whatever the, used car salesman thing is, whatever that is. And at least in our experience, what we've seen is the most successful people in sales are the ones that are genuinely interested in getting to know the client. And this is of course a massive assumption that, look, we know you need our product, so now let's date, right? And I like how you use that too, is this idea of we're on a date, and it should really be about them and about just getting to know them, and instead of closing the deal or solving that problem that moment.
Well, there's an air of desperation when you get to the closing of the deal. We come, Karl, this, we come out of the space of being professional actors. We were professional actors for 8 years. The best times that we auditioned, our best auditions, hands down, were when we didn't need the job.
No.
Because you come in and you've got this, it's classic chorus line. God, I hope I get it.
I hope I get it.
I have to get this thing. And that doesn't read well in a room.
No, it does not. Not so much.
Totally right.
Ooh.
Totally right. I was on a session with this guy yesterday, and I love it. He sent me a video beforehand, and he sent me a PDF, and this was like his value statement, the problem we solve. And he had this really curated, like, Karl, this is what I tell people. And I get on the call with him, and I said, hey, I want you to pretend we're just having a beer. And I'm your college roommate. And I just said, dude, what are you up to now? What would you say? And he nailed it. whatever he said, and we were recording it, which was great. Thank goodness for that. Right. But he just was so casual. He's like, well, Karl, businesses oftentimes have challenges, and sometimes the CEOs don't know what they are. And as I just start asking questions, I go, sometimes we can bring some technology that would solve that, and that would free up a lot more time and more bandwidth and resources. And I have an idea of how we could do it. I was like, well, why did you just say that? He's like, that's all I need to say. I'm like, yes, like just show up. And whether you want to call it speaking from your heart or like unscripted. And so much of what we do in like my company is when we come in to build teams is, yes, marketing will have all these beautiful curated elevator pitches. But if you bring that to a salesperson, they're going to be like, I would never say that. So we write sales language for them to use by salespeople. So it's like for salespeople, by salespeople. It's bite-sized. So to me, the more you feel like it has to be you're memorizing a script and it's not improv, you're in trouble. Like you got to adapt and talk and be in the moment and in the flow. And that's where authenticity comes, and people feel that. And then they feel the confidence, because you're not going to be authentic if you're insecure about what you're selling. So there's a secret, right? If you can be confident, you're probably being authentic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even though, and I'll say this, even though your way of doing it and being authentic and being confident in that product may be different than the way the other person is confident and authentic and views the product. So that's the other thing that we like to get into, is just how different personalities need to change. Personalities aren't changing, but you have to craft the message based on your personality, right? As opposed to
like, who is this person? Who am I showing up for? I'm not going to show up for, a lady boss who kayaks on the weekend, has, 4 kids, owns 2 businesses. The same way I'm going to show up for someone who founded a company 40 years ago, isn't really athletic, much more, whatever they are. Like, I'm going to show up differently for people based on who I am and what speaks to them.
And you have to know who you are.
And you have to know who you are first, which is so true. It's absolutely true. And so, okay. So I love this conversation so much, because of course, we and just like you are very passionate about the connection and the communication relationship in businesses. And I really think that's kind of where we're going with things. When you think about kind of the vast experience that you've had moving into finally forming your business, what is a piece of advice that you've gotten from a leader, someone a colleague that has really just stuck with you and kind of been a bit of a beacon or a guiding light for you in terms of the way that you show up and the way that, what you bring to business?
Yeah. I kind of have a 2-part answer. In a lot of ways, I've had to be my own mentor in my life, which is an interesting thing to say, because I always wish I had a mentor. And I think that's one reason I do what I do now. Like, I come in and I partner with people and their teams, and, I am that mentor. And so is my teammate. We're all a bunch of people that support each other all the time. I think some of that came because I was so thirsty for it. And growing up, there just wasn't a guide. I wish there would have been. So I kind of had to take the way I see the world from different pieces. I also, as an adult, learned I was dyslexic. So like, I've learned, looking back now through the eyes of my kids and through the eyes of like a 50-year-old guy looking back, that the way I shaped my world was from real life experiences, failing a lot, making mistakes, learning, being able to pick yourself back up, being able to kind of forgive yourself too. Like, like, I made a bad choice. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It might feel like it, but like, all the things you see in the movies, right? You're going to have to pick yourself back up, or Rudy, or, like, pick a movie where there's an underdog, right? But I think some of it is just that, like, how do you learn as a human being? And if you're a book reader, then read books. If you like podcasts, listen to podcasts. But I think the underlying thing is, I'm actually going to give my dad some credit here. Be a lifelong learner. That's what we're really talking about. Everything gets cross-pollinated. You might have friends that are, CFOs, and you're in a conversation and there's something you learn about how to sell better. I'll give you a quick example. I was on a peer group call, and it's all salespeople. And this one guy happens to be the owner. And I said, what's a big takeaway you're learning? He goes, I'm learning that right now in my marketplace, finance is making the business decisions. not the project managers, not the event producers, but the people pulling the purse strings. And once I learned that, I actually asked for permission to talk to them. And I've got some clients where I'm now giving them net 90, others where times of the year I give them net 90, other times they're willing to pay up front. But once I aligned to that person in finance, I realized he was really making the decision. So this is kind of a train of thought here, but it's like, if I wasn't running peer groups and learning from people very quickly, I wouldn't have just shared this nugget. And maybe someone's listening going, oh my God, that might be what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's this, how do you put yourself in a place of learning and adapting and kind of reading the room, reading the world, reading what's showing up in your emails, and at least making some educated guesses. And I think the reason I do that is, one, that's how I see the world. That's how I've had to learn. But two, I've got a lot of my dad's voice in my brain. Okay. So some of it's good, some of it's bad, as we all know, but the good voice is like, never stop learning, keep finding new ways to get inspired, because you never know when that's going to open the door to your next client, because you have something in common, or it's going to change how you show up or what you say or how you greet somebody or manage, because you're learning and cross-pollinating from the different things in the world. So I'm going to give my dad the shout out for this one about being a lifelong learner.
Hello, Dad.
I know, I love that so much. So you first of all, one of my favorite things is to, stay open and stay curious. I think that's a really huge part of life. And I remember everyone used to say, always be closing. Maybe it's always be
ABC.
Curious.
Oh, I like that.
So,
ABC,
yeah,
which is also ABC.
So. That's kind of why I said it.
I like that.
That's why I said it.
Can you name the play?
Oh my gosh.
Can you name the play?
What play?
Glengarry?
Always be closing. Glengarry Glen
Oh, yeah.
Ross.
You say that just because I just
He
told
said
you.
it. He said it. I was going to say Death of the Salesman.
The leads. I need the leads.
Not.
Yeah.
Yes. So I will tell you that I love that so much. And I think, it's a constant reminder for me too. I tend to be someone who wants to be in certainty as opposed to in curiosity. And so that to me is just so powerful, especially when you get to be in a leadership role, because that immediately puts you in a vulnerable position, and to be kind of a courageous leader to say, like, what's next? Like adapting. And that's, I really liked Adam Grant's book, Think Again, because it's all about that scientific mindset, not the one who is, the person who's 100% certain about something is not the person who is most likely to kind of grow and really shine, because that person's already stuck in the I know. And so that was
really good lesson.
Sharing that.
Good lesson.
And what I would say is, if you turn it on its ear and say, always be curious, you will never want for a conversation. And people will love you if you take active interest in the question that you ask.
Boom.
And then just listen. If you're curious about the answer, like, things unlock, and people will tell you things that you never thought that they would tell you. So as we're winding down our conversation, Karl, I'd like to know what's coming next for you. What are you excited about? What's in the world of Karl that you're
the world of Karl
that's coming on the horizon, that you're about ready to jump out of your seat with?
And it doesn't have to be business related.
That's
it can
right.
be personal as well.
Yeah. I'll give you one of each. I am really excited that my oldest son is heading off to American University in about 2 weeks, and he's ready for the rest of his life. And I feel like I've done my job. I feel good. He's, I'm probably pretty ready for him to go. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I think I'm ready. Like, I can do this. I can let him go. I can let him have his life. I know we are lifelong friends, and obviously I'm his father, but I'm ready for him to get into that next adventure, and he's ready to. So that's the thing that's kind of like the personal battery.
Can we just take a moment?
Yeah.
Can we dance? Can we dance with that?
Yeah, sure.
You too, Karl. You got to show me some dance moves. Yeah.
I didn't know it was. Woo! So there you go.
That's so exciting. Okay.
What's the other one? What's business?
So, for me, I finally realized, and it's been a long time, that the way I can create success for myself and my own company is very similar to what I do for my clients, which is, how do I facilitate? How do I bring smart people together and then say, will you help me solve this problem? and then ask them for the solution versus them saying, how can I help you? And I have to solve the problem and then tell them what to do. And so there's a nuance there. You probably caught it. But what I'm doing now, which has been really great, is I've really brought a tremendous group of people together. And I've had tremendous groups of people on my team before, but I was the problem. So for me, what I've kind of finally unlocked is, hey, team, this is where I want to go. Do you want to go there too? Yes. Okay, well, what are some of the problems we're going to encounter? That's what it is. How could you help me solve them? Instead of me feeling like I have to be the guy that picks up every single thing. And I'm getting better solutions, more stability, more buy-in. We're co-creating things, which is everything that I ask my clients to do. And so what I'm really excited about is we're scaling. We've got new consultants that are coming on, really love our culture, our core values, the tools, and they're showing up to be part-time or fractional sales leaders. I've got teammates that want to join that do the foundational work like marketing brains, copywriter brains, curiosity brains, system process people. So I'm excited to go, okay, well, what's next? I don't have a preference on how much it grows. I just want it to feel great and have a huge, great culture, and the team is all loving it. And they're like, yeah, next 20 years, let's just do this and enjoy what we're doing and our clients and this team. And so it's happening. And that's what I'm excited about. Like, I'm seeing it unfold in front of me. And it's really exciting. Thank you for asking.
Oh, of course. And can I just say, in my mind, I have connected both of those things for you, because I'm sure you wanted me to.
I do.
Letting your son go, letting your team go. There's a beautiful kind of symbiotic thing that's going on there with just kind of empowerment, right? Empowering. You've raised, you've led, you've
fly little bird,
fly all over. And I think it's sounds like a great place to be in. Yeah, it's a couple of big birds.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully they'll turd somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't even know why I brought that up.
Yeah, wow.
Except we were in San Francisco. A lot of that. What's that?
I really appreciate that. It's true. And I think that's why it feels good. It feels good.
That is awesome. Well, Karl, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. Yeah. We can feel the energy from you. We're going to definitely, I know you, Iceberg Selling, and you have 2 other books, correct? Can you name those for us?
That is correct. Yeah, my first book is Set Up to Win, and it's really around foundations of building a high-performing team. So we talked a little bit about that today. The next book is Sales and Marketing Alignment, which I wrote with my friend Tom Young, who has a digital marketing agency. And it's really about how do you take these 2 companies, or I kind of see it like twins. Like, how do we get these 2 kids to play together? They're so alike and they're so different. But how do you get them to play together? And that's what that book's about. And then the third one, like you said, Iceberg Selling, which is really about if you want to connect with a human being, and whether I'm saying sales or not, you want to connect with a human being, think of them as an iceberg. Look below the surface of the 90% you can't see. Be curious. Ask big questions. Stay in curiosity. And the more you know about them, guess what? You can be a guide if you're selling and help provide solutions. And that's what that book's about. And that's probably my favorite of the 3 because it's super fast and fun to read. And it's across your life. Whether you're working or you're talking about your spouse or your kids, the more you know them, the more you're going to connect, better relationship you're going to have, happier you're going to be.
Love it.
That's great.
I love it. Karl, thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
And have a great time going forward, especially as your son goes off to college. So, exciting times.
Thank you. This has been a blast. I appreciate it.
All right.
So you're amazing.
That was awesome, Karl. Well done.
It's so fun to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's like we had our one-on-one with you.
Yeah, that's right.